Welcome back to an exclusive discussion with United States outgoing Ambassador Ann Peterson.
You have always been taken as a friend of Pakistan. Even when one reads Woodward's book, Obama's War, it figures out that you're a friend of Pakistan. But many wonder, with you, with Mike Mullen, with Patrice, still Pakistan is viewed very critically inside Washington. It's the Bruce Riddle's perspective that wins, that dominates.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. And I think if you look at certainly the last year, the most recent year, that things have really changed very dramatically. The strategic dialogue process, and there's one next week, and the extraordinarily high level of engagement we have, things aren't perfect, but there's a much higher degree of understanding between the United States and Pakistan.
Do you think it has changed with the Obama administration?
Yes, I do think it's changed with the Obama administration.
What is the difference between the Bush and the Obama administration?
The Bush administration, remember, was very engaged in a war in Iraq, which I think distracted them from this part of the world. And by the time I arrived here, certainly the war in Iraq was winding down, but it was a very major focus of the Bush administration. But I think, and of course they were the administration that had suffered 9/11. So the scars were, in many respects, more acute for the Bush administration. But the Obama administration has transformed our policy in Afghanistan and made a much more definitive effort to reach out to Pakistani leadership.
But even after the Obama administration, you have been making comments on the Quetta Shura. You're very concerned about Quetta Shura.
Well, yes, I mean, the Quetta Shura may be in Karachi, the Quetta Shura may be in other parts of the country, but they're Taliban leaders here. Of course they're Taliban leaders here. And they get arrested and they get put in jail, like Mullah Barada is now in jail in Pakistan. So yes, of course they're Taliban leaders here. And let me stress that the process there, as Karzai has said, President Karzai has said, is to begin some process of reconciliation with the Taliban in Afghanistan that will inevitably bring these people into the process. One hopes. The U.S., again, the U.S. policy, much misunderstood, has been that we absolutely can't fight our way out of this, that there has to be a political solution in Afghanistan.
What is misunderstood? That the U.S. will not go for reconciliation? Is this
I think that is misunderstood. I think that is misunderstood, but our policy, again, on this has been quite consistent, that there will eventually have to be a political settlement in Afghanistan that will eventually have to bring in the Taliban, and that will eventually have to have Pakistani participation. Utterly clear.
Let me move to some slightly off the hard politics. Right. How has your Pakistan experience shaped you?
Well, I'll leave here, actually quite optimistic about Pakistan. And people always say, we've had the floods, we have political turmoil. How could you be optimistic? Because this is at first a very resilient country, and this is a country with a world-class business community. And to refer back to my other experiences, that's always been key in any kind of recovery. The ability of the business community and the entrepreneurial community to generate jobs and to bring its money back and invest here. And under the radar here, there are many Pakistanis who have confidence in Pakistan who are investing in Pakistan. So I think it's going to be very important. So I actually am fairly optimistic about the future.
If I ask you, what was the thing that most impressed you about Pakistan?
The enormous resilience of the people, and the enormous hospitality and the friendship of the Pakistani people. I don't think the Pakistani people are anti-American. Quite the reverse. I think there are huge ties.
So you don't believe the Pew survey?
I think there's a lot of apprehension about this, but certainly everyone's personal experience here, businessmen and embassy people, is that Pakistani people are extremely warm and welcoming and open to Americans.
But what was the thing that most disgusted you about the country?
You're so hard on each other. I've never seen a country in which there's a bitter edge against your politicians, against each other. You're so hard on each other. And it's corrosive. You never sort of cut each other a break. And this is true in spades in the press.
But Pakistani politics is more dirty than the American politics?
Oh, yeah, sure, a lot dirtier. Now, Americans have, dirty politics and personal politics, and so yeah, but it's a lot dirtier here. Sure, it's a lot dirtier here, and it's a lot more personal here. there's a lot more discussion of and a lot less discussion of what I think of as the issues, and a lot more discussion of the personal foibles, shall we say. But you're really hard on each other.
If I come to a hard question, so how is your interaction with General Kiani?
I see General Kiani a lot. We have a congressional delegation out there visiting today. We know him very well. We have the highest respect for him. It's good. It's good.
But reading Bob Woodward's book, one actually gathers the impression that Leon Panetta, the CIA director, and James Jones found Kiani a very hard and a very difficult person to work with.
No, I talked to Director Panetta, and I talked to Chairman Mullen, and I talked to General Petraeus a lot. And they have great admiration for what General Kiani has achieved. And think about it for a minute. I mean, the Pakistani military has been in sustained combat for 16 months. They have suffered enormous casualties. They have recovered SWAT, as I said earlier, 2.5 million people displaced with virtually no loss of life. And now basically they have these insurgents bottled up. So I think our military is quite admiring of what General Kiani has achieved.
Where are you heading now?
I don't know. I don't know yet, but I'm going to go study Arabic.
Why Arabic?
Well, I had Arabic. We spent 4 years in Saudi Arabia. I had Arabic in 1984, so it's not much to recover. But are
you looking towards assignments in the Middle East now?
Probably, likely, but we'll see. We'll see. It's not clear yet. But I'll miss Pakistan a lot. It's been first of all an incredible experience, and it's been. I think I've made friends here that I'll always remember. It's been hugely moving at some times, and again, I'm gratified that democratic government seems to be restored.
Ambassador Peterson, I understand that you traveled extensively in Pakistan. You spent time everywhere. Which was the best city you found in Pakistan?
Well, I have to say Lahore is the most interesting city, and Karachi is a big, bustling New York sort of place in the center of the business community.
But why Lahore is the best city?
Because of its historic and cultural sites. And I always tried to take visitors to Lahore to see the fort and to see Jahangir's tomb and to see the museum. So I'd always try and take congressional visitors there because it's a side of Pakistan they don't see from the media, to say the least. And the enormous cultural sites you have here and the jaw-dropping potential for tourism in a place like Lahore, which I hope Pakistan can realize in the short term. I like Lahore very much. I would take every visitor I could there.
I wondered that during your assignments, mostly Pakistan is a man's world. You dealt with men, the politicians and all that. But what has been your interaction with Pakistani women? How do you look at Pakistani women?
Well, certainly in the upper reaches of government and business, there are a lot of women. You have female ministers. You have businesswomen. You have certainly women in the arts and the cultural field. So Pakistani women are extremely prominent in public life. But this is a very conservative society, and what polls show is that there is, shall we say, a lot of room for improvement in female education, particularly in the lower grades. So that worries me, and we're trying to invest some of our Kerry Lugar money in female education. That's going to be key. But at the upper limits, at the upper reaches of political and social life, women are extremely prominent and extremely aggressive.
Now, since we have a successor, Mr. Cameron Munter,
yes,
what kind of challenges do you think are here for your successor?
Well, Mr. Munter, Ambassador-designate Munter, is a very experienced diplomat. He's bringing his wife, which I think is wonderful. She's going to work in the embassy. He'll have many of the same challenges. He's got to work to improve the bilateral relationship. I think that, as I mentioned, I think that's on a much better path. He's got to persuade the Pakistani people that we're here for the long term. He's got to help democratic government thrive and prosper. So I think he'll face many of the same challenges. But it's a process. It doesn't stop and go with each ambassador. It's a process.
Ambassador, thank you.
Thank you, Mohit. Thank you, Dr. Pirzada.